What's the answer? Start leaking information or some nonsense? No, that's nonsense. That's garbage. That's that's, once again, I've been very blessed. I've not really dealt with that. I've not dealt with, well, did you hear what he said? What? No. Let's improve on offense and get our quarterback in a position to be successful. That's our focus. What someone's brother said or someone said, that will occupy very little of my time. And if there is a source, that source is unemployed. I mean, within seconds.
There isn't a source, Urban. There isn't a source. There are multiple sources. Look, he's so oblivious to what's happening in his own, not just backyard, under his nose, in his building. There has been a campaign for weeks, by people within that team to stir up crap, to air out dirty laundry because they don't like him. He's hired people, and he's inherited some players, but added some players, and they just don't like him. And we had the conversation last week about whether or not players should like the franchise quarterback. Well, if you should either like him when it comes to the coach or be sufficiently scared of him that you're not going to do something like this, like air out dirty laundry and potentially get caught. I mean, there's a almost recklessness to the willingness of people to talk. I mean, look, NFL media, partially owned and operated by the Jacksonville Jaguars, had 3 items that they pushed on Saturday. And, this idea that, well, maybe they're wrong because Urban Meyer's taken issue with it. Bottom line is either Urban's lying or sources are lying and NFL media is basing its reports on false information. Either way, it's dysfunctional. Either way, it's not good. The mere fact that this has happened is a horrible, horrible development for the Jaguars. And I think we're losing sight of that part of it. The fact that he's got people that sufficiently don't like him to say these things, the fact that he's quibbling with what is being reported, this is a bad look for the Jaguars. I don't think it's enough to get Shad Khan to do anything, but maybe it should. Maybe it should, but here's the problem, Charean. If Shad Khan fires Urban Meyer after 1 year, he will believe that he looks like an idiot for hiring Urban Meyer and wanting Urban Meyer and pursuing Urban Meyer. So dysfunctional teams tend to double down and try to justify their mistake and avoid admitting it as long as they can. And I have a feeling that's what Shad Khan's going to do.
There was a lot of excitement in Jacksonville when they hired Urban Meyer and they drafted Trevor Lawrence, and you got that uptick in season ticket sales, and we were talking about the Jaguars in the offseason, and I get exactly why they hired him. I mean, he had been at Florida and had success, and those University of Florida fans are some of the same fans that you're trying to sell season tickets to. But at some point, it becomes about winning and losing that's going to entice people to come to your stadium, to buy your merchandise, to talk about you. And all we've been talking about since the season started is the dysfunction in Jacksonville. And he seems a poor manager, a poor leader, and he seems to have alienated everyone in that building. Players, coaches, everyone, or these stories wouldn't be getting out. And whether it's all truth, there's at least some truth to them, and they continue to get out. And we continue to hear these things about Urban Meyer. So I don't know at this point what the answer is for the Jaguars, but I don't think he's the coach for the Jaguars. And Mike, depending on how long you keep him, how much damage do you do to Trevor Lawrence and his growth? No one's going to want to come and be an assistant coach for Urban Meyer. Good luck trying to get some coaches. What free agents are going to want to come to Jacksonville and play for Urban Meyer after hearing all this stuff? This is a franchise that continues to be in disarray, and I'm not sure if it's the worst franchise or the Texans are the worst franchise, but it's one of those two in the AFC South that's the worst franchise in football right now.
Yeah, they're in the same division, and they're both not good, and they play one more time this year. And the loser wins higher draft position for next year. So we'll see who is the most dysfunctional. Whoever's the most dysfunctional is going to win that game, because that game means nothing in the short term and a lot more in the long term. As it relates to Meyer, you hit the nail on the head. He's going to have to, if he can't figure out who the sources are, What do? Do you fire your entire staff and start over again? What do you do? Something's got to give. It's not sustainable what's currently happening in Jacksonville. And one of the little quirky, dysfunctional aspects of this that came to light for me yesterday as I was trying to figure out where the Jaguars stand on all of this, because Urban Meyer spoke to Jay Glazer and refuted some of these claims on Sunday. It doesn't mean that Meyer's right. He just said he didn't do the things that he's accused of doing, didn't have the incident with Marvin Jones, didn't call his assistant coaches losers. But if you try to get an official comment from the Jaguars, they're under orders to refer all comments to the personal spokesman for the owner of the team, Shad Khan. A guy named Jim Woodcock is the personal spokesman. So, okay, I want to comment on these reports about Urban Meyer. Well, we refer you to the owner spokesman. So I asked the owner. He's got no comment. And then I pressed him a little bit yesterday because I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to say last night, because we got to say something about it. I want to say something that's accurate. I want to say something that moves the ball along, that puts it in better context, that makes it understandable. And he's like, well, I only comment on ownership issues. Well, but they're telling me to contact you. See, this is dysfunction. Right. The owner doesn't want the team PR, which is run by one of the best PR people in the entire NFL, if not all of sports, and Amy Palchik. Shad Khan doesn't want her speaking for the team, so you refer all inquiries to Jim Woodcock, who won't speak on anything other than ownership matters. Well, who the hell is saying anything in Jacksonville about whether or not this is true, other than the head coach? And the head coach is kind of all over the place. It's just a bad situation. One thing I did get Jim Woodcock to eventually do was he said, look, there's an article in the Florida Times-Union where Shad Khan talks about his 10 years with the team and how he deals with failure, and this is kind of how we roll. And basically his attitude is, hey, anything you do, you're going to fail from time to time. And that's true. You're not living if you're not failing. But in the NFL, when you fail, it's much more noticeable. And Charean, 10 years now for Shad Khan, in the amount of time that he's owned the team and the number of games that he's had as owner, he's got the lowest winning percentage of any owner ever for that number of games.
How about 41 and 116, Mike? The only season in his tenure where they were over 500 was 2017, and that seemed like an aberration. That was not the course that this franchise has taken. He's had 4 head coaches. Guess what? You could have had Eric Bieniemy. You could have a ton of different guys who would have come in here, and you could have groomed Trevor Lawrence, and we'd be saying right now that this team is on the right course. They figured things out. Shad Khan finally has the right quarterback, the right coach. We don't know that. We know they don't have the right coach, at least not right now, and we don't even know if they have the right quarterback because it's in such dysfunction and with such a lack of talent. We don't know at this point what Trevor Lawrence is.
And who knows if and when we're ever going to find out.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.